My cap came in. Actually, I got 5 of them. 2 of them red to sort of trigger the libtards, as Kyle Rittenhouse put it when he was in high school. At any rate, the caps, I love them. Really well made. I was kind of surprised. I mean, usually when you go and you donate money in exchange for merchandise, the merchandise is kind of poor quality because they're trying to increase profit so that they can push the money towards a good cause. And in this case here, it's a very good cause. It is Kyle's Legal Defense. Right now, it's been deplatformed. It's www.freekyleusa.com. But I don't believe you're going to be able to buy anything or donate anything for a while until they can find a tech company willing to host them. Yes, they've been deplatformed 5 times so far. This is called persecution. No doubt about it.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dredd Show.
So let's go ahead and watch this clip.
2 13 and 14-year-old girls arrested for an armed carjacking. Boys, rather. This comes just days after that Uber Eats driver was killed in D.C. Those 2 teen girls are now facing murder charges.
Okay, I'm already a little bit confused here. Are we going to be talking about the D.C. Uber Eats incident or some other incident?
Fox 5's Maureen Ume is live in Southeast with more on what we're learning about the suspects. And Maureen, video of this particular carjacking went viral over the weekend.
It sure did. A lot of people watching it just horrified that something like this could happen. Moreover, that 2 teenage girls.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the girls. So I have no idea why she said boys. It looks like she was going to start talking about a different incident, and then somebody piped in that, hey, no, this is going to be about the girls again, or something. A little bit confusing there.
Would be behind such a heinous crime. Look behind me here. You see some of the outpouring of support that the victim has received.
That doesn't look like much of an outpouring of support. That looks like 3 flowers.
Flowers left here by the gate, and then if you come this way, you'll see where the car actually ended up, knocking over this bike stand here on N Street and Van Street here in Southeast D.C. Again, this video of this crime just horrific to watch. We're going to show you a little portion of it, but again, just a warning, it is pretty tough.
Watch out when they say little portion. That means edited to serve a certain purpose. Maybe. We'll see.
She's stealing their car.
He's stealing the car?
Yeah, we called the cops. Call the cops. Call the cops.
The video has been viewed millions of times on Twitter alone. It shows Muhammad Anwar next to his car. The teen girls are inside, and you hear him say, "This is my car." And then the driver hits the gas as Anwar clings to the door. Moments later, you hear that horrifying sound of the crash. The man filming runs there. You see members of the National Guard then helping the girls from the car. Anwar is alone on the sidewalk after he was thrown from the vehicle. You can then hear one of the girls saying, "My phone is in there," as she tries to go back to the car. A D.C. police commander tells us the 2 teenage girls are just 13 and 15 years old.
Okay, just a couple of notes here. She was concerned about her cell phone. There's a man laying down on the sidewalk. They're not showing that. They edited out that part, and I can understand why. She has no concern for him at all. She's trying to get back into the car to get her phone. Also, they edited out the first part where he is shown trying to get them out of the car. And this is the part where you can actually see his face, and you can see sort of the concern and the worry as they take off. And I think that they edited that part out for, well, I'll tell you what, you can decide why you think they edited that part. Was it just to cut the time down, or was there a reason?
We also know that at least one of them had participated in something very similar back in January where they were arrested for that as well.
Okay, so one of them had been arrested for carjacking before.
So it does seem like there is a pattern here. Our victim in this case, he has a loving family that are missing him dearly. And then on the other side of this, we have 2 young people that are facing very similar, very serious charges, and they're not even old enough to drive.
Indeed, we understand one of the suspects here has done this before. Apparently was also a suspect in a carjacking back in January.
Okay, he said arrested. Now she's saying suspected.
As for this crime, the 2 of them are charged with felony murder and armed carjacking. That is just the 2 charges right now. More may come. As far as Muhammad Anwar goes, his family, as you understand, very grief-stricken, did not want to talk, but they did issue a statement via spokesperson, and I'll read you part of that statement. It says this: although money will not fill the gaping hole that this death has left in our family, it will help remove some of the stress and worry of daily living while we grieve and heal. We cannot thank you enough. We are overwhelmed by the kindness and support that everyone has shown. The family had set up a GoFundMe page and has asking for $100,000, but so far has gotten more than $700,000. That money, just a small portion of the outpouring of support that this family has received, not just locally, but nationally and internationally. And again, here in the scene, I showed you the flowers earlier. You see people walking by this morning, some taking a look at it, just scratching their heads in disbelief that something so horrific can happen. And moreover, that two teenage girls could be behind something just so hard to fathom, really.
Okay, so notice the lack of flowers, actually. She's talked about an outpouring of support. I don't see much of anything there. It looks like 3 bouquets of flowers. Contrast that with some of the outpouring of grief and support for some of the recent shootings and stuff, especially those involving the police.
Yeah.
That's the best word for it. Hard to fathom that 2 teenage girls can have done this.
And
Back to you.
that video is just so hard to watch. Maureen, thank you.
Okay, so now the question becomes, what is the appropriate punishment? Now, let's assume that they are convicted of these crimes. They haven't been yet. They've only been charged, innocent until proven guilty. So we're doing here a little bit of a mind experiment. Suppose that they were, in fact, found guilty. Now, keep in mind, I am not a proponent of felony murder. I find it to be just a cheap way to try to nail a murder to somebody who didn't have any intent on killing anyone. It is the law in D.C., though. Again, it looks like the one girl has been charged with this before. She was arrested. I don't know where they are in the deliberations of that, but we can assume that she has had some prior trouble with this. So what is the appropriate punishment? Well, first of all, let's rule out life in prison and the death penalty. Come on, guys, let's not get on that. That's ridiculous. These are young kids. They're 13 and 15. And yes, I realize that young kids can do some really terrible things, but they're also immature. I mean, there's no point in having any sort of age of maturation if we're not going to abide by it. The whole thing is ridiculous with Kyle Rittenhouse, for example. He's being charged with minor in possession in an adult court. How in the world does that make any sense? On the one hand, you're saying you're too young to know better. You can't have that rifle. You don't know what it's like to be personally responsible yet. And then turn around and say you have to be tried as an adult because you knew better. You knew the responsibilities. So it's just kind of strange. I'm going to do another video on that completely. I don't know how Wisconsin gets away with that, but they do. So let's go down the list. What are the factors that go into the prison sentence? Well, what is the purpose of a prison sentence? And I can think of a few. One, it provides a sense of justice to the families. And this is often forgotten by those who want low sentences. Well, let's let them out because they might be rehabbed if they come back out again. You know, somebody stabs some old man. The guy loses his job. He can't afford to support himself anymore. And so they convict this person and then say, well, they could rehab this person. He'd go out, be a good person, and it's like nothing bad ever happened. Of course, the old man doesn't have a job anymore. And so the old man thinks that somebody stabbed him and got away with it. And so part of the reason why we have a prison sentence is to provide comfort to the victims, that their pain isn't in vain. That doggone it, you may have been hurt by this person, but guess what? They paid a price for it. Is it the best explanation for why we have prison sentences? Maybe not, but it's certainly one of them. Another reason why we have prison sentences is to send a message. We want everybody else to understand that if you commit crimes here, you will be punished. We take this stuff very seriously. The sentences that you impose on your crimes gives an indication to society what you value. Advocates for the death sentence are saying, we hold life so dearly that you killing a person is going to draw the maximum sentence that we can think of. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, isn't that like teaching that murder is bad by killing somebody? The whole concept here is innocent life. We hold innocent life dearly here. If you're a murderer, we don't care about your life at all. And that's a rational argument. It's not necessarily a correct one, but I can understand it. A prison sentence tells the community how much you value certain freedoms and liberties and such. Another reason why we have prison sentences is to remove the person from society so they can't hurt anybody. I mean, on the bare face of it, that's primarily the main reason. If you've killed somebody, we put you in prison for a very long time so that you can't kill anybody else. Well, you can't kill innocent life. You're going to be in there amongst prisoners, and we feel that if you kill a prisoner, that's somewhat less than if you kill an innocent person. Don't get mad. That's the way it is. That's how society views it. Don't like it, don't become a criminal. But once you get thrown in prison for something, your life does become worth a little bit less. And of course, prison is an opportunity to rehabilitate the person. You secure the person for a time that gives you time to counsel, train, and do whatever else you need to do to keep the person from doing it again. And so these are all factors that go into it. Now, if you're a defense attorney, what kind of things can you rely on to reduce the sentence? Well, one is intent, and I think that that's an issue here. And I understand everybody's pretty pissed off at these two girls, but we have to remember, they didn't go there trying to kill somebody. It doesn't let them off the hook necessarily for everything, but the intent there was not to murder someone. Do I think that they really feel bad about it? Probably not. I doubt they really care. And I know you may be thinking, oh, come on. They're probably racked with guilt. I doubt it. However, if I'm a defense attorney, I'm going to certainly make the comment that they are very remorseful. So not only intent, but remorse. They feel about what they did. Oh my gosh, the pain that they have to go through. And they'll have prepared statements for the kids to read to the judge. And it'll be loaded with all kinds of, I feel horrible about what I did. If only I could go back in time and not do it again. And they'll have the judge crying, little tears coming down. And another one, of course, and probably the big one, is their age. These are just young kids. They don't know better. They went carjacking. They don't understand the implications of what carjacking does. Furthermore, at their age, they did not know what possible outcomes could arrive from this. They could not envision somebody dying from what they were doing because they don't have the life experiences behind them to show that terrible things can sometimes happen if you place people in very dangerous situations, which they did. If I can possibly lean on it, I would also bring in their education and family. If they're doing well in school, that's a sign that maybe we shouldn't be so harsh. They can learn. They're not all bad. They do work in school, so they have some sense of responsibility. And if they have a strong family, I would bring that up as well. Why? Rehabilitation. When they're released, you have to have a strong family around you to help you as you go through the rehabilitation process. And I would cite studies that show the link between recidivism and poor parenting. But if they have a strong family, then I could work that. Now, I'm going to make some assumptions that will probably anger some of the listeners, but I'm going to assume that these two don't probably do well in school. I just cannot envision these two young carjackers being A students. I don't think that the defense attorney is going to be able to rely on that. I mean, what you saw there was a lot of attitude. There's a man laying on the ground, he's bleeding out, and that one doesn't even care. I doubt the other one does either. Also, I doubt they have much of a strong family. Can you even rope both the mother and the father to come to court to talk to the judge? And if so, how are they going to respond when the judge asks them, well, are you two still together? And yes, the judge can ask those questions. This is sentencing. It's not trial. They can't bring that up during the trial, but during sentencing, the judge can certainly ask these kind of questions. Because the judge wants to know, if we release these kids earlier, are they just going to end up killing somebody else? Remorse? I mean, they can certainly read out a prepared statement, but I don't see any remorse from them at all. And of course, the other thing I would bring up is they didn't intend to kill the guy. They just wanted his car. It was a carjacking gone wrong. The man could have let them have it. He chose to hang on. And while we agree that he has a right to hang on, it's his property. And the fact that he didn't let go was probably based out of fear more than anything else. It's not their fault that he chose to hang on. There's one thing we should not build our sentence on. That's race. It shouldn't matter. If these two were little MAGA kids with their red hats doing it, or they were Antifa white kids from spoiled, rotten households, it shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. So what is the appropriate punishment? Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. But we could take a look at some options. Restorative justice. No, I am not into that. Restorative justice, fine if the kids are caught spray painting a wall. Not for something like this. Restorative justice is going to involve the family of the deceased. They shouldn't have to go through that. There's really nothing that they can do to restore justice in this case. This is not a matter of going in and repainting the walls as retribution to sort of set the clock back to where it was before you committed the crime. The man is dead. You're not going to be able to do anything to restore that. Another one is hold them in juvenile and then let them go when they turn 18. You have 3 or 4 years to work with them. Actually longer than that, 4 or 5 years to work with them. And hopefully when they turn 18 and they're released into the wild, they don't go and kill somebody. I'm not sure that that's appropriate. The man did die here. I just don't think that you can just work with them for a few years and then when they turn 18, turn them loose. So there's another option. Hold them in juvie until they turn 18 and then put them on probation for maybe 10 years, possibly with a suspended sentence. Or you hold them until they're 18 and then you put them in prison for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think anything beyond 20 years is going to be palatable. They're too young for that. Sorry, I know that some of my followers are going to be coming in here and saying, "Are you crazy? You're just letting them get away with the crime." No, but keep in mind, they are young. Do I have any real idea that somehow they're going to turn their life around and become productive members of society? Not really, nah. I doubt that will ever happen. I think that these two young girls are showing the signs of long entrenched hostility and a complete lack of empathy and compassion for others. I don't think you're going to turn that around. I don't think there's a social counselor around that's going to be able to right the ship here. So I'm not being naive, but I just do think that there has to be some sort of limit here. Again, they didn't try to kill him. He died as a result of them trying to do some other crime. And while there is a felony murder law in D.C., I'm not a big fan of it. So what is the appropriate punishment? Put it down in the comments below. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.